data from one session to another. Like different user sessions.
That I think I like.
Why would you use session? Can you just like add it to the database?
Nah, that's the whole point. I cannot add it to database. The cost will be too much. My application was to transfer.
Good morning. Everybody in the right place?
Yes.
You're here to do a Microsoft workshop, right? Which is not. I'm actually going to take this opportunity to lecture you. No, just kidding. We're going to have a little fun. Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Pell. I lead the Microsoft Garage in New York City. Thank you so much for having me this morning. I want to talk to you about a subject that I've been working on for a very long time, and hopefully something that you will be able to figure out how to apply to everything that you do. Let's talk about visualizing business. So why is this so important today? We all know everybody's buried in data. There's so much going on. Nobody can keep track of anything. But at the heart of all of that is the notion that we really don't know how some of the processes and models and markets and things that we interact with every day truly work. There's something that's not ever surfaced. There's something that's invisible about these things. So in this talk, I'm going to try to go very fast because I would love to talk to you at the end of this to just sort of give you some background on what I've been working on for a very long time and how I think you could apply it to what you're doing. So with that, if you don't remember anything else that I say this morning, please just remember this. No matter what kind of technology we look at this morning and we talk about, it is never, ever, ever, ever about the technology. It's always about the people side of the equation, always. Not just in visualizing business, but in just about anything that you're going to be doing in your business careers. So why am I here? Why did Yale Ventures ask me to come and chat with you this morning? I've spent a very long time talking to technology, working with technology, being in the business of helping people to communicate more clearly. As it turns out, I've been in the industry so long, I actually invented the font menu way back when. I invented Acrobat and PDF with some friends of mine way back in the early 90s. I worked on the first metaverse, and that's not a typo. 1995 was the first metaverse, which was silly, but we did it anyway. And then the last over 10 years, I've been at the Microsoft Garage working on innovation within Microsoft. So I've had a lot of experience dealing with not only brand new technologies, but what people could really use them for. I've learned so much about this. I've written 3 books about what I'm talking to you about this morning. Taking AI and data and spatial computing and being able to make it easier to communicate with clarity, the things that we all have to remember. In this latest book, Visualizing Business, you would be able to figure out what's going to come next after not only agents and simulation, but what comes after. There's an easy way to find it. You don't have to worry about this. I'll make sure that you can find Visualizing Business if you came to the session. But for me, visualizing is the missing piece of what's going on right now. We have amazing AI systems. We have incredible access to all kinds of things. But the part that's missing is, what is it all about? What is it actually doing? Of course, this is the state of the art, right, in visualizing. Okay. Do you think we could do better than this? Okay. We've been looking at this for literally for 40 years, if not more, which is fine. People understand it. They know how to get to the bottom of all this, but it's not as good as we can do. And then, of course, we have incredible network diagrams like this, right, where it is so clear exactly what's happening, right? But no, I know how to fix this. We'll make it 3D. That's even better, right? And of course, we all know if you just put on a VR headset and you look at your data in VR, it's going to be amazing, right? Okay, please don't ever do that. Okay, it doesn't work. What does work is getting to clarity. Being able to take the essence of whatever you're looking at and being able to make it so clear that people don't have to do the math. Is there anything that's not clear about that? Right? You want a slice? Come up with some cash, period. This is the amount of clarity that we need in business and in science and in academics or anything else. Get right to the point. Be super clear. That's the heart of visualizing business. For decades, we have put things like this on your computer to tell you how much space was left or how much space is being taken up, when we could have just done this. Because we know this, right? The system knows how much space you have. It knows what your consumption behaviors are. Why couldn't we just start with the clarity? So just tell me. I tell this to startup entrepreneurs. If there's anybody here who has a quantum startup or any of the other amazing startups here, and you're trying to explain what you do, just get to the point. Do not use a long wind-up. Nobody has the attention span. Trust me on this one. Just tell me. Tell me what you need to tell me right away. And then I'll figure out if I can pay attention or not. This is another incredibly important principle when you're trying to visualize business. Surfacing is the other thing that we sort of all miss. I was walking around in New York where I live, and I looked into this shop one night, and I saw what I thought were like two water machines having a dance party, because they were moving around. And I was thinking to myself, wow, how do they not run into each other? Like, what's going on here? So we all know that there's some type of Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or something in the room that's helping them navigate, helping them figure out what's what. So to me, this is a great example of surfacing the invisible, one of the principles that I talk a lot about. There are so many aspects of the businesses and the things that you work with every single day that are just not visible. Magnetism, for the scientists or people who remember their high school physics, this is another great example. I mean, these are like metal shavings that someone threw at a magnet. Who knew that that's what a magnetism pattern looks like? I mean, really, who knew? You do know when you're a kid running around at 4th of July and you have like a light tube or sparklers and you see the trails, right? You see the actual path of something through time and space. This is another example of what's coming. This is the very heart of the next generation of business visualization. Being able to see things over time, which again, to me, is crazy because we have always had time at the heart of everything in business, yet it's never ever surfaced in this way, but it will be. The other important aspect is motion. Business is constantly in motion. It's chaotic, it's organized, it runs on schedule, it's never going to make it, but it is always moving. So for the life of me, I don't understand why, we've had all the technologies, we've had all the techniques, we have never shown business in motion. We've never shown data in motion. We show this, state of the art. But what if your information was more like this? What if it was living and breathing and showing you what it was trying to show you? What if it was trying to tell you what it was trying to tell you? What if it could do it on its own? What if it didn't need you to figure it out every single time? What if when you looked at data, it told you the story that it was needing to tell? You can ignore the visuals in this. This is just a sort of a compilation of a lot of interesting things. The important part for you to pay attention to is it's moving and it's showing you something. And it's showing you maybe even in real time what's happening in a certain situation that normally you would have to look at a static representation to even start to understand. This is what data will look like. This is the future of data visualization. This is the future of business and education and everything else in your life. The information that is static today will be alive. You'll be able to talk to it, interrogate it, ask it to do things for you, and it will just tell its story. And now one of my favorite things is not only will you be able to experience these things more clearly, in some cases you'll be able to become immersed in your information. Here's a simple example where the person that's the black silhouette is in person in this particular sketch. The person who's in blue is not there. Avatar, hologram, whatever you want to call it. But they're both interacting with information at the same time. The information is around them. They can work with it. They can talk to it. They can have back and forth discussions. It's not trapped in their phone or on their laptop or on a projection screen. They're immersed. Even with data centers, imagine being able to see what's really happening in these gigantic, colossal data centers that we're building all over the world. Being able to actually be with the data, to be able to use data blades to examine what's happening. This is one of the best examples I've ever seen of information and conversation coming to life.
Hi.
Pay attention to the
I was wondering
visuals.
if you could come see me today. See you. Sure. Is everything okay? Hey, babe.
Hey, so, how's life? Sarah?
Daddy!
How's my little girl?
Mommy's crying in her room. She said you were on a trip and that we might not see you for a long time.
What? There's things we can't explain. What are you saying?
I just heard the weirdest noise outside my window. It's all in your head. You think I'm making this all up? Oh my god, I can't believe me. Please stay on the phone with me. Can you hear the words I'm saying right now? Do not come here.
Listen to me.
That was from a show on Apple TV that aired a few years ago. But I follow all this stuff. That was the best example of showing a conversation I've ever seen without using a video, without using visuals between two people. There was emotion, there was clarity, there was suspense, there was drama, there was danger. There were all those things that were being communicated by the way that we chose to show the information. Welcome to the future. This is not a product announcement, but welcome to the future of working with your Office documents. Why was that important for me to show you? That was done, by the way, it's called Existence. It was done by Panasonic years ago. But it's, to me, again, the best example of showing what happens when you allow a person to be immersed and to emotively interact with their information, whether it's data or things that they're just working on with other people. That literally is how we are all going to be able to interact with information. It will be freed from the confines of your laptop and phone. It'll be in the space that you're in. It'll be something that it might be projected onto the walls, onto yourself, onto other people. That's how we'll get to experience information. That's how business will be visualized. So let's talk about a few things that you should always keep in mind when you're trying to figure out how to be clear. The first thing is scale. What I've found in my experience of helping people to try to be clear is that scale is not about numbers, but people love to put gigantic, beautiful, typographically perfect numbers on a dashboard. And they somehow think that that's going to make it more clear. It is not. What makes things clear is comparison. When you compare things, that's where scale becomes super clear. When you're looking up, I walk around in New York City and I look up the skyscrapers and I'm amazed by the size, by their scale. And so I imagine data being actually within the skyscrapers. I did a series called Datascapers that you're seeing here. But just imagine that the information that we're working with is in a scale that we can understand very quickly. So we know if something is a problem or it's not, if it's changed or it's not. Being able to zoom in on these things is important, but also the way that things feel, their aesthetics is incredibly important. Why can't we start using materiality with information and data to convey additional dimensions? It's not that hard. We have all the technology. We've just never done it yet. But we will. We'll start using different types of materials to depict certain attributes that we inherently understand and we can quickly associate with data. And finally, cinematics. This is data. This is not an AI rendered scene. This is something that was depicted using data itself to be able to show something important. We will combine cinematography, movie-making techniques with data visualization and data science to be able to convey in a more cinematic and more emotional way what we need to get across. And again, this is all depicting information and data. They're not just meant to be scenes, they're meant to convey. So what's next? What do you think? Of course, bringing data into our world, right? Bringing it into our lives, doing public art installations that convey information, taking it into the boardroom, into conference rooms, into building lobbies, conveying the state of information, whether this is showing you the stock market or how a particular company is doing in a particular initiative. The information that is most important to us will be brought out into our environments. It'll be made part of our world. Even typography is one of the most powerful mechanisms to communicate clearly, yet we rarely ever seen it used in this way. Interesting, it almost looks like an art display. But this, again, can be used to convey important information in a super clear way, in a way that can't be missed, is actually appreciated. Being able to be part of information. This is something that I've thought about a lot. You don't need a VR headset to be able to be in a space with your own information, but when you are, it is a very different experience. You have a very different understanding when you're with your information. And finally, you can connect the dots now. Better data visualization, the use of AI with data, spatial computing, and simulation, which will be the next great frontier for all of us, when combined, will give us the most amazing way to visualize business. And so with that, thank you for listening. Sorry, I didn't mean to lecture you, but now I'm kind of hoping that we can talk for a little bit about some of these ideas and hear what's on your mind. If you wanted to read about this, you can pick up the book and see what you think. But for me, I'm way more interested in talking to you about any of these things than about me lecturing. So with that, why don't we open it up for questions? Anybody? I know, y'all just want to go drink coffee. Okay.
So,
I understand how your vision is, but how you gonna make people adopt it? So, for example, I am willing to adopt it because I'm a analyst, but the end user might be a board personally, and might be a person who has been seeing these type of views for so long. They still try to stick to those type of visualization. Even when it comes to basic Sankey charts, they would prefer that. They would prefer, stack bar.
But
So
wait, do you mean people don't want to change their behavior? No, come on, that's not true.
So
No,
how
I get your question exactly.
how you handle it?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for asking the question. And this has been the same for 40 years, right? It's always the same with technology. There is some cutting edge new thing that comes out and people go, wow, that is really cool. That could be better. And then nobody picks it up, right? It stays like this interesting little blip that nobody really deals with. This is actually one of the things that will be transformational. Because once people see what this does for them, with that, you're not going to have to do anything special. This will just be integrated in what you normally do. And so just like when ChatGPT burst onto the scene and people saw it and they tried it and they realized that something had changed, this is what's going to happen with this type of visual. You will now be able to see those invisible elements of business or science or education that are sort of hiding right now. And so people, the hope is that this will just be streamlined in and it'll just sort of happen one day. And it won't be an adoption problem. But thank you for the question.
Hi.
Morning. What's
Good
your
morning.
name?
I'm Kiana. I'm a visual artist and also an engineer, and I really appreciated the visuals that you had. I work in business innovation, and this is something that I use on a daily basis. My question to you is, how did you integrate the artists that you use for your visualizations here, and how could artists position themselves to be ahead of the transformation that you're speaking about?
That is a perfect question. So I love that you're both, like me, you're a designer and a technologist, right? And you do both. That is exactly how it's going to happen. So you know, like we all know, that for centuries, artists have always been on the very leading edge of new technologies that have come up because they wanted to see what they could do with them, right, in their artwork, whether it was music or dance or architecture, it didn't matter. This is just another example of a new technology, call it generative AI, call it whatever you want, that artists are embracing already to figure out what can we really do with this? Like, what is it good for from an artistic, aesthetic perspective? For me, I've always used game engines as my palette. So game engines are incredibly powerful pieces of technology for animation and sound and being able to interact with things. And so what artists will do, in the future and maybe even in the present, is be that aesthetic guide. That we've been talking a lot about taste, right? Like AI has no taste. Well, guess what? It will soon, but it's not going to be the same as you or me, right? So our aesthetic taste, our view, is going to help shape what really works and what doesn't. The computer can figure out all kinds of things to show on the screen, but it's not going to have a heart. It's not going to have a soul like people would to understand whether this really connects or not, or if it's just another pretty picture. So I think the role of the artist is critical in all of this going forward. It's really more about being able to tell what a person could appreciate. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yes. Can I just ask before this question, was any of this useful to you?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Okay, yes.
Hi, my name is Mani Kefrat. I work with corporate strategy and engagement office at Yale Ventures. This was awesome, very futuristic, for me at least. I'm curious how you go about the culture change. We still look at those simple graphs, and it seems like there's a lot of distance between going from that to this. And I think culture change is essential. And I'm curious if you have any examples of that journey that happened in organizations.
Lots and lots of examples of culture change. So that's kind of my day job. So what I do at the Microsoft Garage, which is Microsoft's worldwide innovation program, is I try to disrupt the thinking of C-suite executives and business leaders to be open to things like this, or other things, using AI in different ways, using technologies to help with different parts of their business or customer experience. But for me, again, remember I told you technology, is never the point. Technology is never the point. It's the culture of the organization that you're in that will determine whether you can be successful when you experiment, when you try. And that's what I try to get across to people. This is all about experimenting and about trying. Now, trust me when I say it is futuristic and it is, something that will happen in a very specific way. But the culture of individual companies will be what really determines whether something can become successful quickly. There will be pockets always, right? There are always, that person or a few people who are willing to try, right? And they try something and then everyone's like, why are they doing it that way? We don't do it that way. We've never done it that way. Well, guess what? As soon as that person gets recognized or promoted, all of a sudden the culture starts to go, wait, maybe we should be looking at this. So it's a very cynical thing for me to say, but I'll say it anyway. Very little happens in large organizations if it's not tied directly to compensation, right? So you will find people who start to experiment and who want to help to change the culture will be recognized as the leaders, right? Who will be recognized and rewarded for trying. Because we cannot be the same people that we were 5 months ago, or certainly not 5 years ago. So when you come back to talk about culture and how do you get the culture to change, you do small experiments. You go with the coalition of the willing, right? The people who are excited, who want to try. Never try to twist somebody's arm. You're never going to do it. It's never going to work that way. But try working with the people who want to do this, who want to try, and see what happens. Like get the little wins, and they turn into big wins. Does that ever work for you? Okay. Yes.
Hi, Patty Bell.
Hi.
And I want to thank you first for PDF because that made my career in the early 2000s.
Oh, well, thank you. You know, half the people that find out about that are really mad at me.
Well, it had a wonderful effect on my career. So, but my question is, I am a design technologist and a professor, and we're revising our motion graphics curriculum. Our advanced course, we want to integrate AI and data. And I'm just wondering, do you have any...
Yes, I will be a professor here. Yes. No, I'm joking. What was your question?
Well, basically, do you have recommendations for what we might think about incorporating into that curriculum?
Yes. Use visualizing business as your textbook.
Excellent. And hey, does your book have links to all of those fabulous things that we saw?
Yeah. So if you go to my website, mikepell.ai, there's all that stuff that you can find.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes. Hi.
Hi, Danielle Fowler, Boehringer Ingelheim Pharma. We're currently in the age of upskilling. We're trying to get all of our data analysts upskilled on AI. You both got me thinking about it.
Wait, I love this. The age of upskilling.
Yes.
That's great. That we do a lot of
Like
that
all
in
we
the
talk
Microsoft
about,
Garage.
yeah.
It's like, teaching everybody else what's going on.
Yeah. But you had me thinking about the artistic part of the visualization. We're not spending time on that. We're teaching people more technical skills. In your experience, do you offer that kind of training as well?
I do. If you just get a hold of me, I'm happy to help your organization to think about this and point you in the right direction for things that you can do. But I hate to do this because I'll sound like a salesman. But if you read the book, there are lots of very practical tips about how to apply these ideas.
Good morning.
Good
My
morning.
name is Marion. Good morning.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, wait. You sat in the back row, so you're a bad kid, aren't you?
Listen, I can't comment. I can't comment about that. So I am here with Voices for Innovation, and my question has to do with
What's Voices of Innovation?
Voices for Innovation is a Microsoft-sponsored tech policy organization. So if you're going to pitch your book, I'm going to say
we have to have a conversation. So
yeah,
stick
it's
around.
free to join. Weekly briefing on Fridays that can get to your email inbox about tech policy that's happening in the United States. So my question for you, you talked about how cultural change comes from, large organizations. It's difficult. It can be slow. What role does the public sector have to play? Because oftentimes regulatory policy is always reactionary, following things. But with the speed of change, I'm wondering what you think the public sector can do to help drive some of this cultural innovation. Thank you.
Well, as always, understanding the issues clearly, whether it's public, private, or otherwise. I mean, everybody needs to really understand what's happening. I'm involved with an organization called Blueprints for Arts and Policy. And so that organization has been exploring how to use the arts to clarify, to provoke, to get people to think about the issues. And so Christina Lessa, who's here, runs that organization. You should definitely chat with her about some particulars on what's worked in trying to get people to understand on both sides what's happening and what they can do about it. So I would leave you with an expert.
Time for one more.
One more question, okay?
Hi, my name is Shelby. I'm a data scientist here at the School of Public Health. I have a background actually as a biochemist and then got a degree in mathematics. So
Data scientists were the coolest people in tech until there was a prompt engineer, and then prompt engineers disappeared, so now you're back to being the coolest people.
I think some people have a difference of opinion with that, but I appreciate the sentiment. So my question is kind of getting into those more advanced visualizations, the immersion, the conveying with cinematography. When you're in science and you're trying to visualize data, there's an importance of being able to visualize it in a non-manipulative way. And there are a lot of, books and such as like Professor Edward Tufte, who is a professor at Yale, who wrote a lot of seminal works about how to visualize data non-manipulatively. And so I was wondering about...
So my friend Alberto Cairo wrote a book called Charts Lie, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just very easy to do that too. So I was wondering what your commentary would be on striking that balance between being visually intriguing and or more immersive, but also constraining it so that it's communicating the information you need in the way that you need it to be communicated.
You're going to love this answer as a data scientist. I'm a designer, so I will lie